And so I think what happened is in the church world, for the early part of the 19th century there, up through the 40s and the 50s, you had a lot of legalism in a lot of churches, a lot of like, hey, you need to behave and do the right things or you're not welcomed here. And so for years going up through the 80s, you kind of had a lot of that thinking that still existed. And around the time that the seeker-sensitive movement started, it was really a healthy thing for the pendulum to kind of swing back a little bit, where it was like, hey, we want to reach the lost and not make it so hard for the unbelievers to come and know Christ. Don't make it hard for the Gentiles to come and know Christ, was the thinking. And so the idea of making church feel more relevant and fun and less judgy and a place where you can invite lost people to, that led to a lot of salvations and evangelism, and the kingdom of God grew through that. So I don't look back at those older pastors who were a part of the seeker movement and want to slam them or not be. I'm grateful to them because they did, I think, in many ways move the ball forward. But like anything, a lot of the times our strengths and weaknesses are connected and related. So while they were really good at reaching the lost, a lot of times they failed to disciple the found. And when you have a church full of believers who are under discipled, it eventually hinders your ability to reach the lost, which was their intent in the first place. So the pendulum kind of swung too far towards the seeker-sensitive model. But you got to realize, like in the seeker-sensitive era, these older pastors, their thinking wasn't, I'm scared to speak the truth. Their thinking was, there's no reason for me to beat a dead horse. Everybody knows abortion is wrong. Everybody in society knows homosexuality is wrong. Everybody knows that these things are wrong. So I don't need to get up here and make a big stink about it because, yeah, we all know. Well, they stopped teaching on those things, so, to the point that you get a whole generation of Christians coming up that don't know. And as society has gotten more secular and progressive and is teaching kids through media and institutions, right? Hey, actually, all these lifestyle choices the Bible calls sin, they're actually good, is what the society is saying. And all these things that society used to take for granted as being wrong, now society says these things are good and appropriate lifestyle choices. Churches at the same time have addressed these issues. And so you've got a massive percentage of Christians who are just kind of like, I don't know what to think. And a lot of them are deceived by worldly thinking. So I think that's kind of how we got here.
So it's almost like the watchman fell asleep at the gates.
Yes. And so I think a lot of the pastors, they thought they were doing the right thing by not addressing these issues. They thought that it was out of compassion for the lost. But I think somewhere along the way, they kind of, it's hard to know what was in their hearts and what was in their heads, but the cowardice factor, I think it kind of snuck up on them, because when you don't have to talk about uncomfortable issues like sex and money and abortion and all these, when you don't have to talk about those things, you don't have to deal with the discomfort of talking about those things. And it's almost like your boldness muscle atrophies and you forget what it's like to have to like charge into battle for Jesus and preach the truth to people who aren't always going to enjoy hearing it.